just turning, before I turned pro, to be honest. It was a hard spar, don't get me wrong, both of us, it was a hard spar.
Happy that it actually was officially signed. Both of them prepared long and hard for it. So when I heard Daniel Dubois ill, immediately I think he's not fighting. So there was a statement that went out saying he was with doctors, he'd be assessed, and then a further statement or something would be made. I knew there and then when I hear a fighter.
He's been a dog ever since that fight, you know, and
and they say as soon as he pulls out of this fight, oh, he's a quitter, he's ducking, they can't wait to say that, but it also just doesn't make sense based on the run he's on and the quality of fighters that he has beaten. Stopped.
Daniel Dubois finally breaks his silence after the shock pullout from the Fabio Wardley fight. Initial reports suggested uncertainty and confusion around the withdrawal, but now Dubois himself confirms the situation, pointing towards a tough sparring session that led to injury. This update puts the full picture into focus and explains why he is unable to continue with the scheduled Fabio fight.
I'm pissed off as well, but shit happens and it's one of them things.
Frank Warren reacts to the sudden situation surrounding Daniel Dubois pulling out, describing it as a stressful and disappointing day for everyone involved. The focus is on the wider impact, not just on the fighter but also on promoters, broadcasters and fans who were expecting a major fight.
People direct and then make a decision if he's out.
Okay. When did you first learn about this, Frank?
Very late this afternoon.
Okay, so it's been a stressful day.
To say the least. For the fighters as well. It's a shame for the fighters, for everybody involved. TV companies, and more importantly for the fans. Riyadh season, His Excellency, everybody involved with this. We're all gutted, but what can you do? That's
is the story of dreams. It's wonderful. It's a great chance for him. Yeah. And then to have what happened yesterday with Daniel Dubois off, looking for a replacement, and in steps the most dangerous heavyweight outside the sort of type.
Eddie Hearn acknowledges the uncertainty surrounding the situation and highlights how difficult things have become for everyone involved. The focus is on the challenge ahead, as both fighters and promoters are left dealing with unexpected disruption just days before a major fight.
With Dubois, we'll see what happens, but that's for them to overcome now. It's a very difficult situation.
Johnny Nelson reacts to the swirling rumors and confusion, pointing out how quickly misinformation spread around Daniel Dubois pulling out. His focus is on separating facts from noise, showing frustration at how chaotic the situation has become and how unclear the real cause still is.
Something popped up and we said it's fake news that the fight was off and all this sort of stuff was going on about some poisoning, scandal, foolishness, and they tried to shut this thing down. And I'm saying that's fake news. I'm not having that. So let's wait and see. If it's true, that's a shame. You'll love to get.
Frank Warren highlights the financial and emotional damage caused by the withdrawal, explaining how much investment goes into a training camp before a fight even happens. The disappointment is clear as he breaks down the massive loss not just for the fighter, but for the entire team and event structure.
He's a big fight, he's trained very hard. If you don't fight, you don't get paid. You imagine the cost involved in a training camp, booking places to set the camp up, bringing the sparring partners in, the nutritionists, the chefs, trainers and everybody, and you don't get paid. It's a massive loss, you can't insure it. Or if you do, it costs a fortune to insure, but very, very disappointed.
Liam Goff reports uncertainty around the exact nature of the injury, reflecting how unclear the situation has been from the start. The lack of official clarity adds more confusion, leaving fans and analysts guessing about what actually forced Daniel Dubois out of the fight.
That Atem was suffered some sort of ankle injury. Maybe I was just seeing things with that one. But he is injured. It's not really specified. I don't know why. I'm sure I saw it was ankle, but maybe not. Maybe I was just seeing things.
Spencer Oliver explains the medical side of the situation, stressing that final decisions always come down to doctors and fighter safety. The emphasis is on the harsh reality of boxing, where stepping in anything less than fully fit simply isn't an option at this level.
Okay, but he will have seen the doctor and the doctor will make that decision on whether he should fight or whether he shouldn't fight. I mean, listen, this is the hurt business. You can only go in there 100%. So
Johnny Fisher delivers a very blunt and critical assessment of Daniel Dubois, questioning his technical ability and overall boxing skill set. The focus is heavily on limitations rather than strengths, suggesting that despite toughness and physical durability, there are serious gaps in boxing fundamentals. This kind of evaluation adds pressure on Dubois, especially at a time when he has just pulled out of a major fight. Critics are now openly doubting whether his skill level matches elite expectations, and that puts even more spotlight on his future performances. The narrative is shifting from injury concern to deeper questions about his long-term potential in top-level boxing.
Daniel Dubois, he just can't really get right. You know, he has no real skill. Pretty durable chin. Art is kind of questionable. But
Adam Smith gives a balanced and realistic take on the situation, acknowledging that setbacks and controversies are part of boxing. While he does not support what has happened, he also points out that unpredictability often increases attention around major events. The focus now shifts to uncertainty and anticipation, as fans and promoters wait for clarity on the next move. This kind of situation highlights how quickly plans can change in boxing, where one injury or withdrawal can completely reshape an entire fight card and storyline.
Twice as big for the casual fans. Do we condone it? I mean, in boxing terms, should that happen at a head-to-head? Of course not, but these things do happen. This is the fight business, and it's just made it even bigger, and we wait to see what happens next.
I think, look, in some fights he has shown that he has shied away from the challenge in some situations, yeah. But in others, again, it swings and roundabouts with him. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get, because in other fights he has proven bit down, like Hrgovic, for example, and got stuck into that where it was a back and forth fight. He was getting tagged a few, and he...
Don Charles highlights a clear transformation in Daniel Dubois, pointing out that the fighter people once knew is not the same version standing today. The focus is on evolution, development, and experience gained at world level. Despite that progress, there is still a strong competitive gap being acknowledged between champion status and challenger mindset. This reflects how Dubois is still seen in transition, improving but not yet fully proven in the biggest pressure moments. The pressure now increases even more after the pullout, as questions rise about consistency, readiness, and whether he can truly deliver when elite-level fights are expected.
Yeah, he's changed. Of course he's changed, he's evolved. He's not the same fighter that I had... I won't expand, I'm not at liberty to expand on what the relationship was. He's not the same fighter, of course. He's evolved, he's developed. He's a current world champion.
Parker is scrapped. Dubois had to pull out due to an illness.
Johnny Nelson gives a strong assessment of Daniel Dubois, pointing out that technically he sees him as the better fighter at this stage of development. The focus is on confidence built through recent wins, suggesting momentum was finally swinging in his direction before this setback. However, the timing now becomes a major talking point because just as belief and rhythm were building, the pullout interrupts that progress. It raises questions about whether momentum in boxing can be fully maintained after injury disruption, and how quickly a fighter can mentally and physically reset for another major opportunity.
He's technically the better boxer. The better fighter is Daniel Dubois. And Daniel Dubois is at the right age, right part of his time. He's had the right run lately to go in there as a confident fighter. You know, fighters have to do certain things to get themselves to believe in themselves, believe that they're capable of doing. You know, that his run of last 3 fights has made this guy think, I can walk through walls. So this is the right time for Dan.
Ade Oladipo reacts with clear confusion, admitting that even insiders were not fully aware of what was happening behind the scenes. The situation is described as chaotic and unclear, showing how even media figures are struggling to get accurate information. This adds to the overall uncertainty around Daniel Dubois pulling out, making it feel less like a simple injury case and more like a situation still unfolding. The lack of clarity keeps speculation alive and increases pressure for an official explanation.
I did know something about this. I would absolutely not say I knew anything about this. This is one of those ones that go over my pay grade, over my head, and over everything else. So I will, like most people, just wait and see how this plays out. It does sound...
Andy Lee highlights the brutal reality of training camps, explaining how injuries are almost unavoidable at elite-level preparation. The focus is not just on Daniel Dubois, but on both fighters potentially carrying issues into fight night. This adds another layer to the discussion, suggesting that the sport itself demands extreme physical sacrifice before even stepping into the ring. It also reinforces the idea that behind every big fight there is always hidden damage, wear and tear, and risk that fans rarely see until something like a withdrawal brings it into the spotlight.
You know, you're likely to pick up injuries, and I wouldn't be surprised if both of these guys are going in there with some...
This entire situation around Daniel Dubois pulling out of the Fabio Wardley fight has now turned into a much bigger conversation than just an injury update. What started as reports of a tough sparring session and possible ankle issue has evolved into questions about timing, preparation, and long-term durability at elite-level boxing. The reality is that when a fighter reaches this stage, every camp becomes a test of physical and mental limits, and even small setbacks can completely change career direction. Daniel Dubois now finds himself under pressure not only to recover, but also to rebuild momentum that was just starting to grow through recent performances. Critics are already questioning his consistency and ability to stay active in major fights, while supporters argue that injuries are part of the sport and need proper recovery time. If Fabio Wardley had gone ahead and capitalized on this opportunity, it could have reshaped the division picture instantly. Instead, everything is now paused and uncertain. The key question moving forward is whether Daniel Dubois comes back stronger and more focused, or whether these interruptions continue to affect his rise at world level. If you are watching this unfold, make sure you subscribe, stay updated, and join the conversation in the comments, because this story is far from finished and the boxing world is waiting for the next move.